Hi, I'm Dan Cox, and this is your MMA update. Jon Jones in the news again. Man, hit and run, drugs involved, running from the scene of the accident. I mean, it's back in the news again. You know, we had discussed this before, Bomb. My partner is always Bomb. Great to have you, brother. Listen, we discussed this before, and you know, and I had said that I thought this was just a symptom of a bigger problem that would reveal itself later down the line. And I think we're starting to see that happen. What do you think about this? I mean, you know, it's a big deal at this point. What's your take on this?
I honestly just think the guy needs some help. The guy needs help. The last thing on his mind or anyone else's mind should be fighting. He shouldn't be fighting. I think the UFC did the right thing by stripping him of the title, taking him out of the rankings, because they removed him from the rankings also. He's off the pound for pound. He's off the light heavyweight rankings. I think they did the right thing. Was it too little too late? Yeah, I think it was.
Well, let me ask you.
If they did something with the prior, failed drug test, I agreed with you when we talked about it. Yeah, this wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have, because he would have still been in rehab, or he would have still been helping himself.
That is so true, Bomb. And as we discussed it, the thing is, if they took action, I mean, listen, when someone is using cocaine, it stays, the lifespan through the body when you take it is so short. So that let him know he was doing it right up to the fight. You know, I don't know, a day before, whatever. And that is indicative of, definitely a problem. His mind wasn't there. Still performed, still took dominated Cormier and won that fight. But had they taken action, had they forced him into rehab, as opposed to, and by the way, he's still yet to be punished for that, but had they put him in rehab, we might not be seeing this happen now. And I think the UFC failed Jon Jones in that aspect. I think it's more about the money than the human being, and I'm disappointed in the fact that they didn't take action. And, had they taken action, Bob, do you think that it would have been avoided?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think a lot of things would have been avoided if the UFC approached things from a different aspect. Even the whole, role model thing with Jones, I think that was pushed on him by the UFC for him to have this persona that he really didn't want to have. And that came out when he was, on camera. It was he thought he was off air, but he was still on air when he had the, the infamous thing with Cormier. And I honestly think that, the UFC pressured him into, having this role model type of a personality when he really didn't want to. And this is his true personality, and he needs help. So instead of talking about anything else about the guy with fights, or he's a cokehead, or he's a junkie, or an alcoholic, or beating the guy to death, or bashing him, you know what? As people, let's talk about getting the guy some help. Daniel Cormier said it the best last night on Fox Sports 1. He said, I won't kick another guy when he's down. Me and him have had our problems, but I won't kick a guy when he's down. He needs help. Let's get him some help.
And listen, Bob, you're in touch with the people, and especially, on Twitter. And so you're interacting with all these people and their comments about it. And by the way, awesome job. You're doing an incredible job, Bob. But I got to say, it's got to be hard for you, because people are saying some pretty outrageous things, really. They're not giving the guy a chance. I mean, regardless that what happened and he got caught and this happened, again, we're talking about a human being that went from, a poor man to the champ of the world, $1 million, and his life changed. He was in that role model thing. I disagree a little bit with you, because I think he really wanted to be a role model. I think I think he is a good man at heart. And I do think he wanted to do the best things. It's just the pressure and everything else. And again, this is indicative of something bigger in his life that he's struggling with. And I think the UFC, if they want to protect their cash cow from their point of view, they had better look at it as a human being, not as a commodity. and get John some help. Because let's face it, John Jones is the best fighter out there. I think we both agree on that. And if this is let to go out further, it's even if he gets back in and he takes his title back, the damage that's being done to his personality, that people see him, that are looked at by fans, his reputation, man, it's going to be hard to get it back. And I think that's unfair. I think it's unfair to be judged that way because let's face it, he's a fighter. And like you said, Bob, we pay that $50 or $60 to watch him fight in the cage. What he does outside of the cage really is irrelevant until it becomes a criminal issue.
And even at that point, it doesn't concern me. It's not, it would be like if Dan Cox crashed into a lady down the street from his house and broke her arm and took off. I don't care. I don't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not personally for you. Of course I care for you. But, personally, a news article like that, I don't care. That's not what I'm involved in the sport for, to know about his personal life or Dana White's personal life or what Ariel Helwani eats for breakfast. I don't care. I pay $50 a month, basically, to watch two guys beat each other up. That's what I want to see. I don't care about anything else. The constant bashing, the constant, just belittling of people that have a problem, that, instead of saying, like I said earlier, oh, John's a cokehead, or Johnny Bones Jones cokehead is an alcoholic, or, whatever. Who cares? Who cares? You don't like the guy? Say I don't like the guy. That's what it all boils down to. You don't like the guy, you don't like the guy. Yeah. I disagree with you on the one aspect with the UFC of, I understand that he's their cash cow. And I think the UFC has that kind of power and manipulation where they can pass John Jones off as a role model. And John Jones didn't want to do that. I don't think deep down inside he wanted to do that. And they pushed him into doing it by them telling him, you're going to get signed to a Reebok deal. You're going to make X amount of money. The more money we make, the more money you make. So they were pressuring him into that. Then you take into consideration the title defenses, fans and other people just bashing him and jumping all over him. Then he's got the drug issue going on. I mean, how much does a person take before they break? Right. And that looks like it's happening to me.
And listen, we don't know what's going on in his personal life as well. I mean, this brings a lot of pressure on. And you know what? The things that we are disagreeing on, I will give you this. He was so young when he took the belt over that you could very well be right, that he was so wanting to please the company and be the spokesman and do it, that he probably was very he could be manipulated at that point in his career. But he's a grown man. As things move forward and he started to continue to win, he had the power to kind of say yes or no with a lot of things. And, that could have come back to bite him. But really, that kind of is such a small point when we get down to the bottom line, that this is a man that was caught using cocaine before a fight. He was allowed to fight. He was in rehab, to my knowledge, about 8 hours. Now, that's where the UFC dropped the ball, in my opinion, because, listen, if he's got a problem, he's not going to admit it. That's indicative of someone that has a problem. They don't admit it. So the UFC steps in, takes care of him as a human being, it makes him look good, shows they support. They're going to save their money, right? Because he's going to be coming back stronger and better. And one thing and this is from years now, when people make a mistake, they always go to rehab to make up for it, right? Whether they've got a problem or not. And the fans and public, they forgive them, Bob. They forgive them every time. So, I think it's really important to point out, had the UFC acted, we might not be talking about this.
Well, just think about this, too. You can never be the face of a company if you're a douchebag. So, they're not going to allow that. They're going to want you to be somebody who's interactive with the fans, somebody who's a nice, respectful guy, somebody who walks around on, the streets of Albuquerque or whatever and handing out, winter sweaters or winter jackets to the homeless and posting that stuff on Instagram and Twitter.
Right.
There's a reason for it. It's the way I look at things, especially in sports, nothing's done like that out of the kindness of one of their hearts. It's always a promotional thing, always something to keep your face out there to say, look at how good of a guy he is.
Right.
And that's the thing that keeps churning in my mind is he finally got just fed up with everything. He didn't want to do all this stuff. He didn't. And now his true colors come out and everybody hates the guy. So now the guy's just on like a self-destruction course, so to speak. In the UFC, what do? Instead of helping him the first time, doing the right thing by him,
exactly.
Do the time.
And listen, Bob, I mean,
took them 2 days. 2 days, Dan. They should have said something the very first day it happened, and he fled the scene. He fled the scene. That's it. Bottom line. You fled the scene. You injured another person and fled the scene. He should have been stripped of the title and released automatically.
Yep.
That's it. Look at Adrian Peterson and Rice. Rice hit his wife. Adrian Peterson hit his kid. What happened? They were suspended and released from their teams. Peterson wasn't, but Rice was.
Right. And, the thing is, I'm so sick of the interim thing, right? Interim belt. This isn't an interim case. He was stripped of it. So the winner of the fight with Rumble will be the champ, right? Now, in my opinion, when Jones is straightened out and he comes back, he will become the champ again, unless he does have something that's in his life that is really affecting him and that we don't know about. And I honestly believe there is a lot more to the story than we're hearing. But I want to touch on something else real quick. And what it is the superstars of the sport being treated different than everybody else. Hector Lombard tests positive for steroids, PEDs, immediately disciplined. Anderson Silva tests positive for multiple steroids. Still yet to be disciplined. John Jones with the cocaine, yet to be disciplined. And not only is he not being disciplined with Silva, he's calling out another fight with Diaz in Brazil, and he says he expects to fight before the end of 2015. Now, how is it that you can even pretend to have a policy that is fair and equal across the board when you treat these guys totally different? I mean, what do you think about it when you look at that, Bob? What does it say to you? Because I know what it says to me.
I've already told you what it said to me. We talked about this before, and with Anderson Silva in particular, look at, nobody's talking about it anymore. It went away. This is going to be his time to build up some sort of a defense, to put the blame on somebody else, get an exemption for it, and he'll have a fight. Here's another black eye to the sport. Now first it was the John Jones thing with a black eye. Plus it's been multiple steroid, accusations and test failures throughout the last few years. It's rampant in the sport. The sport needs a complete overhaul, and the UFC needs to step up to the plate. They need to, instead of worrying about the almighty dollar, they need to really start worrying about their own image. They need to start worrying about the fans, because let's not forget, us fans are the ones that enable them to have a pay-per-view a month. Well, enable them to pay these fighters this crazy money. It's us.
Exactly, Bob. And the thing is that, if they don't take care of their fighters, they're not going to have fights. And, I know somebody had said something before I thought was totally ludicrous that, hey, maybe John Jones, somebody put cocaine in his Coca-Cola, right? I don't remember who said that, but I remember that. And I have to say, that's ridiculous. Listen, with steroids and Silva, we know how that's administered. It's injected. Those are injected drugs. You can't take a pill for them, but that's not what they're doing. It's being injected. And Anderson still denies ever in his life using. That's a problem for me, because he was caught. He tested positive, and by postponing, him meeting the commission, exactly what you said is happening. The ability to build a story, the ability to find a scapegoat, the ability to find a way out is being given to him. and it really bothers me. I think it really takes away from the integrity of the sport. And listen, we have to have an even playing field, not just for the top guys, but for these guys that are coming up. What does it say to them, when the so-called pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, now both of them, are messed up in drugs and testing positive and, problems outside of the cage. It's really a black guy. I think something has to be done with this really quick. And, the answer to me is easy. You have a policy and you stick to it. It's even. It goes across the board. What would you say on that, Bob?
Absolutely. It should be one punishment for everybody.
Yep.
Everybody should fall under the banner of one set of rules. That's it. No questions asked. Doesn't matter who you are, what you bring to the table, how much money you're taking in, how many pay-per-views you sell. If you fail a drug test, whether it be recreational or PED, see you later. You're gone, and it should be some harsh punishments. It should be, your first time, you should get, 6 months or 8 months suspended from the sport, plus a hefty fine. The second one, you should get a 2-year ban, automatic. 2-year ban from the sport, not just from the UFC, from the sport, where you can't fight anywhere.
Yep.
And the third one, your history. You're banned for life from MMA.
See, I'm a little hardliner because, again, to me, if the punishment does not outweigh the benefit of using steroids, it's never going to stop. I agree. The first time, let's give them a suspension and a fine, but it's got to be hefty, like you said, 2 years. Second time, you're caught using performance enhancers, it's clear cut, you're done. Because what that'll do, it doesn't sound unfair, it does, but what it will do is eliminate the guys from doing it. Because if they want to continue their career, they won't take that chance. And it sets a tone, too, for the up-and-comers to train and to be clean and to perform that way. And all I can say is I hope something happens for John Jones as a human being, and that people, listen, as a fighter and a personality, a superstar, I understand everybody's upset. Let's not bash the man. He's a human being. He's got a family. He's made mistakes. I know I have. And listen, if you can't forgive, don't expect people to forgive you when you make a mistake. That would be my comment on that.
I just look at it as, it could be someone's family member. If it was a member of your family, would you want everybody coming onto Facebook and Twitter and whatever else and Instagram and saying, oh, look at this cokehead or look at this junkie or this alcoholic and he's a loser? Like, I wouldn't want that. If it was my brother or my sister, I just wouldn't want it done. So, I'm compassionate like that. I'd rather see the guy get help than get bashed.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, Bob. And you know what? The bottom line is you can get that point across without calling and saying those types of things to him. Hey, being disappointed and whatever, but you don't have to take it to that level. I think we're going to see some changes here because there's a lot of pressure now. We've got Cormier stepping up to fight Rumble. Real quick, I got to hear, what do you think's happening in that fight?
Rumble's been training. Cormier was training for Beta. Complete opposite. Honestly, I don't think it's going to go too good for DC.
Well, I'll tell you what, my picks, I might as well just start throwing spaghetti against the wall, right? They've just been garbage. But I'm going to tell you, Cormier is such a competitor. This is the opportunity that he lost with Jones. I think he will really work to it. It's going to be a hell of a fight. Believe it. He cannot get tagged by Rumble. That's all there is to it. He catches a clean shot, he's in trouble. I think Cormier will be able to close the distance. I think he'll control the fight, and I think he'll come away with the title. But I think when it comes back to Jones, he's going to have that fight, and I think it's going to be over pretty quick. I think Jones will be the champ again. But we'll see how it unfolds. I hope for him as a human being, he's taken care of, and the UFC understands now, learns from the mistakes. This doesn't happen again. Bomb, thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
For LUB-MMA, I'm Dan Cox. This is your MMA update. And I want you guys, remember, go to YouTube, touch down there, subscribe, check us out. Let me know what you think. We appreciate it. Bomb, man, it's hard to close the show. I got so much to say about this topic, but we got to cut it short. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time.